Well, happy Women's History Month to you all. I'm Kimberly Ellis. I'm the director for the San Francisco Department on the Status of Women. And I have the incredible honor of not just working for a department that is dedicated to women, girls, and non-binary, not just a city and county that is committed to uplifting and supporting women, girls, and non-binary, but the best mayor in the country who is committed to supporting women, girls, and non-binary, not just in March in the Women's History Month, but 365 days and 366 days on leap year of the year. And so I want to thank all of you for making time in your schedule for us to come together in community as we round off Women's History Month. We know that there is a lot of angst and heartbreak and uncertainty in the world right now. The other thing that we know to be true is that women, especially strong, bold, tenacious women like the women of San Francisco, will ensure that we are doing everything to bring about peace and love and justice, not just here in San Francisco, not just in the great state of California, not just in America, but all over the world. I am incredibly privileged and honored to bring up our mayor, your mayor, give it up for Mayor London N. Breed.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us to celebrate Women's History Month in the city and county of San Francisco. What was that, Felicia? Okay, thank you, thank you. I want to first acknowledge the two amazing women that serve on the Board of Supervisors here in San Francisco. We have with us today Supervisor Catherine Stephanie, thank you so much, and Supervisor Myrna Melgar. We have some amazing department heads, including our woman fire chief, Janine Nicholson. Maria Sue is here from the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And a lady who's an institution in San Francisco, who is a historian. Ellen, please stand up and take a bow. And I think I got all the department heads, but there's also a lot of commissioners. So all the women commissioners in the house, please raise your hand. I need a little bit more enthusiasm for the fact that we have 55% of the commissioners that serve the city and county of San Francisco are women. Thank you. And today, as we really think about how far we've come, and we also have to just be reminded that there's so much work to do. And we talk about that so much work to do because there was a time when the majority of the women on the Board of Supervisors were women. There was a time where we had to fight to get to that point. And so we want to get back there. And, you know, sadly, I'm only the second woman in the city and county of San Francisco to serve as mayor. And we want to make sure that it doesn't take another 30 years before another woman serves as mayor of the city. And I see Debbie Raphael from the Department of Environment. Thank you so much for being here. And I know there are a number of other people that we have in the audience, and we are so, Dwayne, you are not a woman, so today you are not gonna take away the attention, okay? This is televised. So, before I forget, in honor of our extraordinary women that we are fortunate enough to have to honor here today, tonight we're going to be lighting City Hall in the color purple to recognize the three of you and to recognize your extraordinary accomplishments not only in your life, but what you have always done to touch the lives of other people. The theme for this Women's History Month in San Francisco centers around philanthropy. It centers around women who, without the desire to be recognized, consistently have given financial resources to things that have not always been a priority, to things that may matter to that small community group, but is not always the big, bold, exciting, shiny new car, penny, or whatever you want to call it. And they do so because they care. They do so because they believe it's how people should be. And they do so because of their love for San Francisco and their desire to see things change for the better. And so when I was thinking about who are the women that I can honor, I couldn't help but think about the 4 women that I'm honoring here today. So we're gonna start with my friend Brenda Wright. Let me tell you something about Brenda. I remember when I first started getting active in San Francisco, and I used to see this woman who just walked around with such grace and took charge of a room, and everyone was trying to be her friend. They were trying to be her friend because not only was she the type of woman to get things done, she was the type of woman that you wanted to be like. She always had a kind word of an advice. She always tried to see the best in people and tried to see a way to make things better. And when she worked for Wells Fargo, let me tell you, Wells Fargo has not done half of what it should be doing if it were not for Brenda Wright. And let me tell you, 1 year alone, $60 million to almost 300 organizations, because it wasn't just about giving to the large institutions that had development teams to apply for funding. It was about the small African-American art and culture complex who just needed a little bit of money to fix its floor. It was about the different groups and organizations who just wanted a chance. They may not have been the best at writing a grant, but they had the heart for the community. And no one could wear stilettos like Brenda Wright. And let me tell you, she will step just as good in those halls of power in those stilettos as she would step in the halls of the hood to try and support and transform community in a way that uplifts people. And so the reason why we're honoring Brenda Wright for her philanthropy is because of her not only ability to support and uplift organizations, but to support and uplift and mentor young women and girls. Now, part of why I dress so nice is because Brenda Wright, and I see her daughters all in here, her daughter Amanda, but her children, pull your dress up right, fix your hair, because she cared. Her whole life has really been about uplifting people, helping to support young women, helping to provide opportunity, helping to make sure that the right resources are at the right place and nothing was too little, nothing was too big for her work, for her advocacy, for her effort. And let me tell you, no one fries chicken better than Brenda Wright. But at the end of the day, she has not been appreciated for all she has done for San Francisco. She has not been recognized in a way that she should for what she's done to help people in San Francisco. Yes, when she did her job, she made sure that the ballet and the symphony and the opera and the large institutions receive resources. But so many organizations were the beneficiary of Wells Fargo because Brenda Wright didn't see through them. She saw who they were and what they represented. And it meant a lot to be recognized by Brenda Wright because you know that you must be doing something right. Is she took the time to understand what your organization was about and how she could help you because she was always there wanting to help. She's saying, okay, no, Brenda, this is about you. Yes, she served on the retirement board and the Asian Art Museum board and now the War Memorial Board. She's worked and been appointed by, I saw these other things that I wanted to mention too, the California for, I can't even read my own writing here. Yes, and you can talk a little bit about that. The Women's Foundation of California, a number of other very great organizations that have led to real change. And yes, she's my friend, and yes, I love her dearly, but I also am in awe of her and her ability to continue with grace, to always figure out a way to do something great, to touch the lives of other people. And Brenda, on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco, today in celebration of Women's History Month, we recognize you for your philanthropic contribution to San Francisco, and we are grateful and honored for everything you've done to touch the lives of individuals and organizations in San Francisco.
These are beautiful.
You know, I had to do it right for you.
Ooh, these are beautiful. Thank you. Do I speak?
Yes, you can say a few words. We can do the picture in a minute.
You want to do it
This
now?
is this, and this, Amanda.
Here, dear. That's my daughter.
Oh, okay, he wants to take the picture. And we're gonna do some more afterwards.
Thank
Okay,
you.
B.
Well, thank you. I mean, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm like, because I'm the biggest crybaby. I have all these emotions that always show up. But I want to thank you. And one of the things that makes me so proud is to see London. And the woman and the leader, I mean, a courageous warrior, and the woman that she has become. So if you ever do anything for anybody, just know this might happen. So thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I'm just thrilled to be here. And I was saying to Dede, I don't know why I'm here, but I do know that inherently in my very young life, I was taught that it was always about service. It wasn't about you. You know, I would start whining about something, and my mom said, this is not about you. And you know, when you're little, you don't understand why it's not about you because you think you're everything. And my grandpa used to always say, if you want something to change, go do the work. And that's all I know is doing the work. But I just want to say to there's so many wonderful women in San Francisco doing so many wonderful things. And for you, I'm very grateful because many times we do them together. So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. I'm thankful to my friends who hold me up, lift me up. My partner, Steve, who gets the brunt of all of my anger at home. You know, not at him, but around the circumstances and things that go on. Thank you, dear, for always being there for me, supporting me. Amanda, my daughter, best thing I've ever done. You know, and for a person who grew up saying, I'll never have children, you know, the best thing I've ever done. But I just want to say that when you think about, I want to tell you, one of my favorite quotes And you've heard it before, but it's a tenet by which I live and exist. And Marian Wright Edelman says, service is the rent you paid for living. And I always ask people, have you paid your rent today? If you can't answer yes, when you leave here, you need to go pay your rent. Even if you put a down payment on a bigger place, because the world needs you. We are just in such desperate times. The world needs you. And no disrespect, gentlemen, but if you want a job done, give it to a woman. No disrespect. No disrespect. And those of you men that are here and know women, you probably, yeah, I know. I don't want to hear it, but I know. So I just wanted to say, Madam Mayor, thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of your courage every day. And I know this isn't an easy job, but I'm proud of you. To my fellow honorees, thank you. I'm just proud to be in your company, and just know that we are not finished yet. So thank you.
All right. I'm just feeling good already. Our next honoree is my other friend, who is as equally amazing and sophisticated. I gotta say, I heard about Dede and her, and I keep going back to the shoes because I appreciate the fact that when the De Young Museum was getting rebuilt and the whole ventilation system on the grounds, they said, no, we have to make sure that they're just small enough so that Dede's heels or any other woman's heels, when they walk past, they don't get stuck in the vents. I said, I know that's right. Take control and get it done. But Dede has been an institution in San Francisco for as long as I can remember. The work that she has done has been absolutely extraordinary in the world of philanthropy. People have heard, I'm sure, about how she single-handedly raised all the money to rebuild the beautiful new De Young Museum that we see today. The work that she did to spearhead UCSF and the work that it did on Mission Bay. She continues to give to over 100 organizations annually, both large and small. But I do know what her favorite organization is, and it has a lot to do with her canine babies, the Shanti Project, an organization that she has been giving to for so many years. They recently honored her for her philanthropy. And the thing I like about Dede is when you call her, she didn't even know who I was. And she still took the time to talk to me. And this is before I was an elected official or anything else. She wanted to know more about the organization and what she could do. And she's like that with everyone. Yes, she looks amazing all the time, just like B. Wright. But again, another woman who cares about giving back. There are so many other things that she can choose to do, so many other causes, but she consistently invests in San Francisco. And as I said, whether it's our cultural institutions like the De Young, like the opera, like the symphony, like everything that she consistently invests in every year, there have been times I'm at events and the whole event is sponsored by Dede and she's not even there. Because she always makes herself available to give of her time if she can, but also to give of the resources that she has to support the causes that, of course, are worthy. And when I think about how fortunate we are in San Francisco, how fortunate we are to have Dede and her desires to want to be that person to contribute and support, it's important for me to make sure that she knows how much she's appreciated. I remember when Dede was talking a lot of mess in the newspaper about the new millionaires who weren't doing anything for San Francisco. And I know your kids can attest that when their mom gets it in her to give someone a lecture about what they're supposed to be doing, they better watch out. Because she feels as though when you have it, you have a responsibility to do something that's gonna make a difference in someone else's life, which is why I'm so appreciative to her for not only her contributions, but for continuing to serve the city as a member of the War Memorial Board and making sure that she is spearheading a lot of the major causes that keep the opera, the symphony, and the ballet, these incredible world-class institutions that are recognized by people all over the world. And they're right here in San Francisco, and they're like that because of people like Dede. So today, we honor you. And let me just make sure I didn't forget the other thing. We honor you because as a woman in philanthropy, Dede doesn't ask for anything. I don't think you've ever asked for anything. All you do is ask for something that's gonna make San Francisco better. It's never about anything personal. It's always about how do you change the lives of people in San Francisco. How do you work on this project? How do we get this done? How do we clean up this? How do we make things better? And so today, Dede, we honor you because of your commitment to San Francisco. And I know you don't do it for the recognition. I know you do it because you love to do it. I know you love San Francisco. And we are so fortunate and blessed to have you as one of our well-known, well-respected citizens of the city. And so on behalf of the city and county of San Francisco, we honor you today for Women's History Month. Thank you so much for your philanthropy. Yes, they're real.
Really. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
You know I had to give you some real flowers.
Of course you did.
So this is your
That's
little
very
gift
sweet.
in there and
Oh,
your
thank you.
certificate so
Thank
you
you,
can
thank
take
you.
home.
Okay. Well, London, thank you for everything. I have to say, I have been a grown-up in San Francisco because I didn't come here till I was a grown-up, and I've known a lot of mayors, and some have been really fun, but no one's been fun like London. Nobody is the breath of fresh air, and you know when you call her or she calls you, I always just sort of get a dog, put it in my lap, and think, oh, this is going to be nice and relaxing and funny, and I laugh and I laugh. And even if it's something serious, we find something to laugh about, something that's good. I have to say, when I was 14, I was brought up in Washington, D.C., and one day my father said to me, do you realize that you could grow up to marry the President of the United States? You could be the First Lady of the United States. And I said to him, Daddy, I'd like to be the president. Wow. That didn't go over. In those days, in the late 50s, early 60s, absolutely didn't work. And so my father at first was horrified, and then he laughed. He thought, oh, that's really, she's so funny. So I have to say, I listened to him because he used to always say, you were lucky enough to be born in the good, right bassinet. Now you have to give back. And two things he always said to me were, be sure you give back, always give back, and never spend capital. It took me until my early 20s to find out what the heck he was talking about, capital, because I lived in a city with a building called the Capitol, and I couldn't understand how you possibly could spend it, although there are plenty of people who do. But anyway, those are the two things that I kind of live by. I have to say that as far as the president goes, I'm very pleased to live in a time now where I have two beautiful, smart granddaughters. And one is here today. I am absolutely convinced either one of them could be president if they wanted to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But at least they have that possibility, which my generation, of course, did not. I have hit more glass ceilings, more glass walls, even some glass floors than most people that you will ever meet, because I couldn't understand why I couldn't go where I wasn't supposed to go. And often that was in a room full of men. And I will never forget being introduced to a very important dignitary from China when we were building the Diang. So Harry Parker was the director, and this delegation of Chinese came. I was standing next to my husband, who was alive at the time, and Harry said, "I'd like to introduce you to the chairman of the board of the Fine Arts Museums." And the guy puts his hand right out there across me to my husband. And I thought, well, that's interesting, isn't it? I guess in China they don't have chairmen who are women. But my husband had a very good sense of humor, and he just directed this hand around and said, "I'm so happy for you to meet my wife." But I thought, lessons learned. This is the way it is. And we have to work very hard, very carefully, try not to irritate as many people as possible, and find a way to be sure that women have the opportunity. They may not want to do some of these things, but we just need to have the opportunity to do that. And of course, I agree with Brenda. If you really want a job well done, you should find a woman. And I'm happy you found all of us, London. Thank you so much.
Don't you just love her? And so now I have the privilege of honoring Miriam M. But I'm going to get your last name. But Miriam I met at her house when she was hosting a fundraiser that Larkin Street was holding to focus on ending youth homelessness. The Rising Up campaign has been about raising millions of dollars to get to a point where we end youth homelessness in San Francisco. And when we say youth homelessness, we're not just talking about kids who are under the age of 18. We're talking about kids who are in their early 20s as well. And a passion of hers has been to really focus on the challenges of homelessness for children, for families, for young people. And she's been consistent in her advocacy. And I was really not only impressed by her work, but also her excitement for the work. And it wasn't just about raising the money or giving the money. It was also about being a part of the various committees and rolling up her sleeves and being actively engaged on the ground with these various organizations to understand what they're doing and how we can make a significant impact. And the nitty-gritty, the nuts and the bolts. And I thought to myself, goodness, this woman is amazing. And she's the chair of the Opera Guild. She's still involved in the arts in San Francisco. She still is actively engaged in the San Francisco Bay School and other various causes. But I know that her desires to help address homelessness in San Francisco for young people is something that she is never going to walk away from because it's important to her. And until we are at a point where we end homelessness in San Francisco, we know that we have an advocate in Miriam. And so I am so grateful that she is actively engaged in the city in this capacity, that I found you at this event. She wasn't, I don't think, trying to get involved in the world of politics. She was just trying to do her part. And you know what's very interesting is when you're out there doing the work, you never know who's watching. And part of why you do the work is not because of who's watching, but because of what you care about, what's near and dear to your heart. So for all the time and the resources you spend as a native San Franciscan, caring about this city, investing in youth homelessness, investing in the arts, supporting our city in various capacities, we are so grateful for you, for your time, your commitment, And yes, you've been hiding out a little bit too long, but we're bringing you to the surface, Miriam. And so on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco, thank you and congratulations. We honor you for Women's History Month.
Wow, it is truly an honor to be recognized amongst these legendary women with whom I've looked up to for quite some time. And Mayor Breed, thank you for your leadership in this city and for your continued support and trust, for all the efforts that we all do for our beautiful city that we love. You set an example for everyone, and we are truly grateful for that. My father, talking about family anecdotes, when I was younger, he said, you have to be stronger than everybody else around you, because if you have a husband who leaves you with 5 kids, you need to be able to take care of yourself. Luckily, that did not happen, and I ended up with a very, very supportive husband who is always supportive of all of my efforts on a daily basis. And as you mentioned, Mayor Breed, I love our city. I love every inch of our city, and I believe that every single one of us is here because we truly believe in our efforts to enhance and preserve our what we want to do for the youth and for investing into our education and celebrating the strong legacy in arts and culture. So we are all here, I think, with a common theme of our love for San Francisco. And I really appreciate this recognition. Someone said, if actually we had a all-women group chat late at night, inspired by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who always stood strong and recommended to act virtuously, then our world would be a better place. So, thank you again.
Thank you. And last but not least, and she couldn't join us here today, I wanted to honor Susie Tompkins Buell. She has really been an extraordinary person in San Francisco, a person who supports and uplifts women and pushes women to run for office. She's supported programs like Emerge. She supported amazing women like Hillary Clinton and others. She is really, when it comes to getting women elected, not just in San Francisco, but all over the country, she is the go-to. And she constantly does a lot of work with not only contributing to great causes that support women, but what's near and dear to her heart is the environment and making sure that we leave this planet a better place than we found it for our children. I'm really very proud of San Francisco and its focus on equity and our plans around our new environmental, what is it called? Our Climate Action Plan. Thank you, Debbie. So we just released our Climate Action Plan, and what you all could appreciate is that our Climate Action Plan is just not a plan built by those who think that they are the professionals and the ones who should decide what happens around the environment in San Francisco, but it's centered around equity. It's centered around making sure that communities that have been disenfranchised, like the Bayview Hunters Point, and I know we have some women here from there today, that they are at the forefront of the change we need to make in San Francisco. And Susie believes very strongly in not only focusing on the environment, but making sure that equity is at the center of the decisions that we make as a city and as a country. She believes, again, firmly in supporting and uplifting women, and she is consistently doing everything she can to support those causes. Now, I gotta tell you, I became a big fan of Susie once I found out that she was the founder of Esprit. Now, I don't know if you all remember the Esprit outlet. Ooh, when I was on my best behavior, my aunt would pick us up and take me and my grandmother, and we'd go to the Esprit outlet, and I'd be begging my grandmother to get something from there. That Esprit outlet that was off of 3rd Street near Mission Rock. You guys all know it, yes. But she took her resources and used them to support causes that mean a lot to uplifting and supporting women. And we are so grateful for her work and wish she could have been here with us today, but she's here with us in spirit. So congratulations to Susie Tompkins Buell for her work in San Francisco. And so with that, we are going to bring an end to our program, but we see that the man of the Board of Supervisors who joined us late, but he's here nevertheless. Supervisor Asha Safai, thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to say, as I know Kimberly Ellis mentioned earlier, it's been a tough time in the world. It's been a tough time with what happened during COVID. It's been a very challenging time, as we know, with what's happening, sadly, every single second in Ukraine. We know that there are people in this city and in this world who are suffering. But I have hope. I have hope. Because when I look around, even the group of people that I see here today, I know so many of you from various points in my life, and the consistency and the involvement that you all continue to do in this city is going to help transform it for the better. Yes, it won't be easy, but we're not going to give up. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep working hard. And because we have these extraordinary honorees with us here today, I know that we're going to get to a better place one day at a time. So I want to thank all of you for joining us in celebrating Women's History Month in San Francisco. And I feel really good right now. So because I feel so good right now, I want to invite all of you into the mayor's office, where we will have champagne and a few appetizers and enjoy one another, because after 2 years of a global pandemic, I'm just happy to see your faces. So thank you all so much, and please fellowship with us afterwards. Thank you.